Hey friends, it's Jeremy Osterberger with Bic Magazine. Today I'm joined by Andrew Jarrett, who is Applied Cybersecurity Program Manager for TEEX, Cyber Readiness Center. For those who are unfamiliar, TEEX is the Texas A&M Engineering Extension Service. Hey Andrew, welcome, and I'm excited to talk a little bit about cybersecurity in the energy sector today.
Thank you for having me, Jeremy.
Great, man. So in light of the recent Colonial Pipeline cybersecurity breach, Andrew, we've seen a renewed focus on protection from cyber criminals attacking oil and gas and industrial operations. Can you give us just a quick eighth grade level overview of what happened to Colonial?
Absolutely. So Colonial got hit with what we call ransomware, which is a type of malware that encrypts the files, locks them up, and prevents them from being accessible to the company. Now, what was interesting about Colonial is that the group that attacked them is actually what's known as ransomware as a service. So the group we're hearing about in the news actually hosts ransomware for other hackers and takes a cut of the payments that they receive in exchange for developing this ransomware for them. So these hacker organizations operate like businesses, and they target U.S. companies specifically, also Western European. The reason we were able to narrow it down so quickly as to who exactly was behind this was because when they looked at the malware, they found that the ransomware actually won't encrypt computers that have their keyboard input set to Russian or Ukrainian or other former Soviet languages.
Wow, Andrew. So, if the largest pipeline in the U.S. can get hacked, Andrew, how prepared are other sites in the industrial sector? I mean, whether it be refining, petrochemical tanks, terminals, power generation?
I mean, the level of preparedness varies widely. There are some organizations that are really on it. Most of those organizations are either highly regulated or have already suffered some sort of breach like this. I'm sure the Colonial of a year or two from now is going to look a lot different than it does currently. On the other hand, there are a lot of organizations out there that are very, very vulnerable still. This is a pervasive problem. Ransomware has been going on for over a decade. We see it in all sectors, not just industrial, but more and more in the industrial sector now, as things become more and more interconnected.
So, as you know, this attack was very public and it affected day-to-day livelihood of Americans, unlike maybe other attacks, right? Especially up in the Northeast and even down in the Southeast, they were affected by this. How often does this happen? And the public never hears a thing.
This is happening daily. It's happening to organizations all over the map, everything from government to companies, private sector, healthcare. Everyone is having to deal with this problem of ransomware. In a lot of cases, what we're dealing with is we've come to rely on these technologies, especially in COVID times where we have a lot of remote workers, which increases our attack surface significantly. And the bad guys know this, and they're taking advantage of it. If you look at the numbers year after year, ransomware cost the U.S. about $20 billion last year, just in lost revenue. Not even ransom payments, but just in effect to business, effect to commerce.
So let's talk prevention. Andrew, where do we go from here? Take a refinery, for example. Is cybersecurity handled at the site level, or is it corporate driven and controlled?
It's got to be both. Cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility throughout the organization. And that is the key to good cybersecurity awareness and good cybersecurity culture, is to realize that there needs to be a push from on high to say that cybersecurity is something that our organization is going to take seriously, but then that has to be reverberated all the way down to the site level, to the supervisor level, to the individual employee. In terms of preparedness, there are lots of things that we can do. One of the biggest ones is keeping industrial control systems and sort of those keys of the kingdom, those really important systems, separated from our business processes, so that if somebody does click on a bad email or something like that, doesn't necessarily affect the ability to make product or what have you. The other thing is just cybersecurity awareness training is huge. Most cyber attacks start with interaction from users, meaning somebody gets sent an email or a link to click on, something like that. And that's usually how these attackers are getting into our organizations. And so we have to educate the users down at the individual contributor level, not just the security folks, about these dangers and what role they play in preventing these things from happening. Finally, you have to know thyself. So good cybersecurity assessments are very, very important. Understanding where the gaps in your organization lie and where you need to prioritize the limited budget you have for cybersecurity is very important. So understanding those gaps in context with what threats you might face, as well as the unique situations of your organization, that's how you're going to be able to best prioritize those efforts.
And so, Andrew, there's no question private companies have to take care of their own security, but should there be a greater expectation from the state or federal level, as it relates to protecting critical infrastructure, especially within this energy sector?
Definitely, there's more that the government is needing to do and is doing as a result of this and other things. However, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's your data. It's your responsibility to secure it, and because of the nature of cyber attacks, it's really a difficult problem for the government to solve for us. It's something that each organization is going to have to take on their own. The government is stepping up and providing more resources, which is great, and that's exactly what the industry needs. However, the industry has to turn around and say, okay, we're going to take this seriously now, and start making some real efforts to secure themselves.
And just to add to your comments, the consensus amongst security professionals is that private companies shouldn't pay ransoms to cyber criminals, and there certainly are reports that Colonial may have. So there's definitely a conflict between guidance from the federal government, and there's a lot of more work to do between how both public and private work together toward a solution.
Absolutely, and the decision to pay a ransom or not pay a ransom is on the individual situation, the individual company. I will say that if you have thought through ransomware already and have a response plan for it and have taken proper mitigations such as backups and things like that, that decision to pay that ransom suddenly becomes less of a factor because you don't need to do it. Definitely would advocate don't pay the ransom. Giving the bad guys more money, giving them a payoff for doing what they did to you just encourages them to continue to do it. At the same time, there are situations where that might be the only option you have because of lack of preparedness.
Right. To get back up for operations, you may have to in certain circumstances. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a business decision, and it's hotly debated, but at the end of the day, it's a business decision.
Yeah. Excellent point. So, Andrew, let's wrap up our discussion. I did want to give you first the chance to talk a little bit about the services provided by the Applied Cybersecurity program at TEEX. If someone is interested, why don't you tell us a little bit about the program?
Absolutely. So the TEEX Cyber Readiness Center offers a variety of services. So we have training. One of the big things we're known for is our grant-funded training through DHS FEMA. We also have a variety of what we call enterprise services. So we provide assessments. We help write plans. We help create training programs, as well as hands-on technical assistance, assisting with implementing things, penetration testing, even incident response. So we go in and help organizations deal with an incident after it's occurred, as well as the front end preparing for an incident before it's occurred.
So, Andrew, we know you have some other priorities today, and your time is valued. We really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Jeremy. It was always good to be able to talk about these things.
Absolutely, man. We'll have you back. Hopefully there's no other incidents, but something tells me there will be something in the future. So let's get you back on and talk about where the industry stands maybe a year from now.
Sounds good.
And for everyone watching, here's a reminder to our audience. BIC Magazine and the Economic Alliance Houston Port Region are hosting a business technology and security forum on May 20th. Visit bicmagazine.com/bic-events to register. Participants in that event include Garrett Piana of CP Chem and Rebecca Kamara with the FBI. So as always, we are most grateful for our audience. Please like and share this recording with colleagues. And for more industry videos and podcasts, visit bicmagazine.com. Remember, it's what we do together that counts.